Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and esteemed guests. Today I would like to talk to you about what is said and what is heard. And as Stephanie mentioned, this is speech number 8 in the original slew of 10 speeches that you work your way through, which includes a focus on the effective use of visual aids. So today I would like to talk to you about the difference between what is said and what is heard, and understood, most importantly. We work very hard in this club to craft careful, well-written, clear, and well-delivered messages. And yet, in so many ways, in human communication, there are so many opportunities for things to go slightly or very awry. For example, we've all had the experience where a well-intentioned message of care or concern was interpreted very differently, perhaps negatively, by a friend or partner or colleague. Or when a clear direction in a work situation becomes scrambled and somehow lost in translation, leading to frustration or possibly even project failure. So sometimes, despite our best efforts, our audiences, which could be a single friend or a small mob, are unable to understand what we mean. I think we have all had this experience. Okay, Ginger, I've had it. You stay out of the garbage. Understand, Ginger? Stay out of the garbage, or else. What we say to dogs, what they hear. Blah, 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 Ginger. Blah, 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 Ginger. Blah, 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 blah. Which is an old Gary Larson cartoon that I think is very demonstrative of what I'm trying to explain. But how and why does this happen? And what can we do about it? A very salient point for a bunch of Toastmasters. In Ginger's case, well, the answer is because she's a dog. But that doesn't keep her owner from talking to her in a way that will ultimately never get either of them any closer in understanding. But let's focus on our communications with fellow humans. And I think as a first step, it's helpful to just think about how we all work. So this illustration is every man and every woman. This is just sort of a generic human being. And I'm personally involved right now in a series of leadership training classes for a variety of programs. And one day, we spent an entire day talking about communication, how things are said, and how in fact they are heard. And there was actually a Harvard psychiatrist who joined us and talked a lot about the biology-based the importance of understanding a biology-based scenario, because it is how it does in fact affect all of us. So there are a couple of very important elements. We all bring, just as we brought today to this meeting, some kind of internal focus or representation. This can be a feeling of gloom, it can be a feeling of excitement, it can be a feeling of curiosity, etc. There's your actual physiology, which there is no escaping. And this can be simply a biological tendency toward depression, or perhaps a person who is living in chronic pain. So your thoughts and your actual physiology combine in all of us to create this inner state, right? This is the state. So out in the world, there are lots of stimuli all the time. And they include absorbing all kinds of information that is coming at us from everywhere all the time. So right now, as I'm talking to you, your experience is influenced by the things you're looking at, whether your clothes are feeling a little bit scratchy or soft, or you're a little hot, or you have a little headache, or you're sorry that you ate that thing for lunch, or that bad smell in the hallway. And those things are all combining right now with you listening to what I'm saying to create this internal state, okay? And the really interesting thing about human communication is that I have absolutely no insight into what your internal state is, just as you have absolutely no insight into mine, other than what I can describe to you. So I think that what's interesting is that there's an internal landscape that has nothing to do with my message to you today, but is in fact, your internal landscapes are the ground upon which the seed of my message is falling. And so whether the little seed grows there, flourishes, or simply doesn't even get started, is beyond my control in many ways. So I think it's very interesting to think about this. So when you think of it like this, it's actually rather amazing that we were able to communicate at all and come to any kind of shared understanding. But in fact, on a happier note, we in fact are able to do this because we are all naturally very sophisticated listening and communicating machines. So in fact, the best listeners, which is a critical step in the whole process of understanding what someone else is saying, are those people who are able to note this flood of incoming sensory information and who are nonetheless, they note it but are not overwhelmed by it and are able to process it and manage it. And it's in moments of great duress or anger or upset or joy that when you can't manage this internal state, that's when things start heading south, just by and large. So it takes maturity and practice to communicate without being influenced by this internal state. Simply to listen to what is really on offer, not mix it up with what you've got going on, and then be able to react in a way that matches this. And so just trying to communicate, for example, the same way when you are exasperated or bored as you do when you are excited, it all comes back to controlling that often turbulent inner state. And I think that this ability is something that as Toastmasters we are all interested in cultivating and even perfecting. And if we do, then the job of communicator becomes far easier, and a well-crafted and well-delivered message gets the attention and understanding that it needs. So, and once we can do both of these things all the time, we can move on to a group, we can move on as a group to addressing world peace, because these are not easy. But I leave you with that. Thank you.